What we're basically doing here is anybody that dispenses fuel at our pumps at Public Works, you have to be classified a Class C operator. For us to have the fuel and dispense it up there, we actually have to have somebody that's a certified A and B operator, and that would be me. How that happened, I'm not sure, but I knew the guy that was given the test. And then we have to have a C, which is anybody that's actually dispensing fuel into vehicles. So what we're here to talk about today is the requirements for you to be a Class C operator. Basically, the things that we need to know first, where the pumps are. They're at Public Works. They're marked gasoline and diesel. Basically, if you're a designated Class C operator, you have an ID. Actually, you have a driver's number, you have an ID, and then whatever vehicle you're fueling up has a key. This little black key right here. And what you basically do when you go to get fuel, you put this key in, and then you talk to the computer. And believe me, if you don't tell them the right information, you're out of business. So we have two pumps up there, a gas pump, a diesel pump. We have a 10,000 gallon fuel tank, which is what they call a split fuel tank. One tank holds 7,000 gallons of diesel fuel and 3,000 gallons of unleaded gas. It's what they call a double wall tank, and we'll touch base on that a little bit later on. So that covers the first box, but I guess everybody said they had made out this certificate, so we haven't got to worry about it. We're going right on to the next stage of what you need to know if you're fueling up there, and that's the location of the emergency shutoff. Because we are a station that is not a self-serve like the gas stations, many of the gas stations that you go to now, it's self-serve. You get your own, you pump your own fuel. Because we are not, we do not have to have an emergency shutoff. No, but this is why you're training for this Class C operator. So what happens a lot of times is, and believe me or not, it does happen, is EPA or DEP, which we fall under both of those entities, could come up to Wink, if he's up fueling the Buildings and Grounds pickup, and say to him, where's the emergency shutoff? And they do this. And you tell them that the emergency shutoff is in the fuse box in the garage because we're designated not to have an emergency shutoff. But they would come in and ask you that type of question just to try to figure out as if you've been certified to dispense the fuel out of there. So in our facility, which they require to do in this training, the emergency shutoff is in the fuse box, which would located on what I call the westerly wall, beside the service door that comes in. And you come through the door, and right to your right, the fuse box is there, and it's properly marked gasoline and diesel, and you throw the breakers, and that's how you kill the power to the pumps if there's an emergency out there. But we do not have an emergency shutoff. Most of the time, if something like that happens, there's going to be somebody in the garage. It's going to be open if you're there fueling. But in the case of an emergency after hours, what we asked you to do is contact the fire station, contact public safety. Whether through a phone call or going over there and knocking on the door, or even the emergency call box, Galen, which is still on the Seagull Drive side of the parking lot. But 9 times out of 10, if there was an emergency out there, the head mechanic or somebody would be in the garage and could be handling it. One of the biggest things that everybody that's fueling up there is, I want to try to get across, is there's signs out there on the building, on the island, on the pole that holds the canopy. And there's a sign with the list of things that you do in case of. So whenever there's a problem, don't hesitate to look and read that sign, because you're pretty much going to get the information you need to know off that sign. If Public Works is open and available, we'd like to have you come and tell us, and we'll touch base on that a little more. The next thing we're going to discuss here is it's leak detection. This is going back to the double wall tank that I was talking to you about. It's a double wall tank simply for the reason is if we get a leak in the tank, it will run in to an area that's between the 2 walls, to put it in as plain English as I can to you. What happens when this takes place is there's an alarm. So when material spills in to that wall, it puts an alarm out, which is located also in the westerly wall of the Public Works garage. It's called an OMTEC. If that thing was going off, you would know it, because it puts out the ungodliest blasts, and you have all kinds of flashing lights. Again, you're only going to know this probably if you're in the building. Okay? But as part of this training, everybody needs to know where that alarm is and why it is going off. And as I say, the alarm will flash lights and blast. It has a horn that blasts until it's reset. Again, if for whatever reason this was going off after hours and Public Works wasn't there, we asked you to call the fire department or go next door and knock on a door or use the call box to report it. That goes to Cumberland County, and Cumberland County will contact the personnel that needs to come take care of it. So that's the OMTEC. Again, it goes off when product is leaking in between the 2 walls of the tank. Evidence of a possible leak. We all know around dispensing areas, you always see wet spots and that on the ground. As a Class C operator, all we're looking for is when you start seeing that out around the fueling island, that it is reported again to hopefully the head mechanic at the Public Works garage. We will go take care of it. If we are contacted that there's a leak or something that needs to be cleaned out or cleaned up, we will go take care of it and take care of the proper paperwork that we'll discuss here shortly. But please don't hesitate. The EPA and especially the DEP lean on us hard up there. And Randy can testify, even though if it's a different side of the business, when the DEP come up there to see us, they mean business. And basically because the closeness and proximity to Gray's water supply. So we asked you, because of this, and because we need to be doing it anyways, is if you see something that's leaking or something that has leaked, please come report it to us so we can address it, because it's not fun dealing with them. Moving on to responding, we're still talking a little bit here about spills. Responding to spills. As I just told you, we'd like to have you report it to us and we'll take care of it. If indeed we are not there, which happens, there is a yellow spill bucket located on the island between the two pumps. Sometimes when you're out there, just spin off the top of that bucket and look in there to see what is available to you to clean up a spill. There's speedy dry, there's absorbent pads, which are the two things that we're mainly going to ask you to clean up, if you indeed are going to do the cleanup. Speedy dry, which is a product that will suck up the oil on cement and paved surfaces. It's probably the best thing to use on a spill out there, except if it is raining. Speedy dry will not hold the oils if it is wet. So if it's wet and you have to clean up a spill, that's what the absorbent pads are for. Also, if you have a spill that gets off the pavement and the hot top, you do not use speedy dry. Please use the absorbent pads. When you do a cleanup out there, also in the spill bucket, you'll find what is a spill log. Please fill it out. If you do the cleanup, please fill out the log. And you'll just give the date and times and what the material was. And believe me, when the EPA, DEP come around to check us, they want to see that log to see, number one, if we have it, and number two, how many spills we are having. But please, if you have a spill out there, no matter how small, please, and you clean it up, please fill out the spill log. Just talking a little bit more about speedy dry, and then we'll get off it. We have to report spills to the DEP. So any spill you have out there, no matter how much, our SOP is let us know, and we'll determine if that call needs to be made. There is situations where that call doesn't need to be made, but we don't need to spend the afternoon here, the morning, talking about these situations. Just advise us of a spill. Again, the fallback is the fire department. If you've had a spill out there, contact them, and they'll certainly take it from there. And again, in that spill bucket, there is bags to put your waste in. So if you use some absorbent pads, throw them in the bag. If you put down speedy dry and it dries up and you sweep it up, throw it in the bag, and then we'll properly discard it. But the one question that the DEP has been known to ask when they make their surprise visits is exactly what we just discussed, speedy dry. They're going to say, okay, it rained and you had a spill, tell me how you're going to clean it up. And this is the way they operate. So if we can just keep that in mind, that would be great. The last thing we're going to discuss is safety and emergency procedures. I'm going to tell you right now, because you're a trained Class C operator, you're no firefighter, you're no emergency personnel, and we don't expect you to be. In safety to me is, I want you going home tonight to your families. We all know you're a dedicated employee to the town of Gray, but if there's an incident, don't take it upon yourself to try to take care of it. The fire department is here 24 hours a day. That's why they get paid the big bucks. And I say that kiddingly, but if you knew how many hours a year these people train, there's not an incident in town that they're not going to be able to take care of. So my one safety thing is this: you're number one. The town council, the town manager, all the department heads, we want you going home. Gas pumps and that kind of stuff, vehicles, can be replaced. You can't. And we're hoping that you just, if there's an incident, make the call. Call the guys with the big red trucks. They're going to come handle the situation. Any questions? You're all trained Class C operators.